been widely reported that Ken Chesebro is cooperating all across the country against Donald Trump in various states. And we got wind of it when all of a sudden he made an application to Judge McAfee in Georgia whether he could travel in order to participate in and cooperate with the states who are investigating the fake elector scheme. Let's break this down and talk about what it means and whether or not we agree that he's cooperating. I'm not sure, actually, even though that's what's being reported. But so don't forget, let's just remind ourselves where we are. He pled guilty to a single felony count of conspiring to file false documents in Georgia, and he agreed to cooperate with all of the trials, investigations all around the country. He was the second attorney to plead in the state of Georgia after Sidney Powell had agreed to plead. And this is in her sweeping 19-defendant RICO case that she's brought against Trump and others. And don't forget, Ken Chesebro and Sidney Powell asked for a speedy trial. And on the eve of going to trial, because the speedy trial required Georgia to be ready right away, I think it was October, and she was ready to go, and she was going to go to trial, Fani Willis, the DA there. And at the last minute, he pled guilty to a single charge, and it was a single felony count of conspiring to file false documents in Georgia. And as I said, he agreed to cooperate with everybody. And he was, he's also, I think he got, he was given 5 years probation, a $5,000 restitution amount, 100 hours of community service, and an apology letter. And he had to truthfully testify. That was his sentence. And it's in every plea. It's very typical. You have to plead guilty, which means you have to both legally and factually allocute. And allocutions are very typical. The fairly standard in most places, and the judge will ask you questions, or sometimes the prosecutor does it, but just depends on the jurisdiction. And Ken Chesebro was questioned by both the judge and the prosecutor here, and it's basically, is this your understanding? Do you agree to this? Are you under the influence of any drugs right now? Did anyone force you or threaten you or coerce you to do this? Some standard questions. Do you realize that this could impact your citizenship? Do you realize it could impact whether you can carry a gun? Things like that. So he got through all of those. And he said yes to all of those. And he says, are you pleading guilty because you're in fact guilty? Yes. And do you agree that this is the negotiated plea? It's only one count, count 15 of conspiracy to file false documents. Yes. And you agree to the negotiated recommendation of 5 years, probation, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And truthfully testify. Yes. And you agree not to speak to co-defendants. Yes. And to give a proffer letter and an apology letter. Yes. And to turn over any remaining documents and materials. Yes. But then they didn't make him allocute to and plead guilty to the facts, which shocked me because that would never fly in New York. I mean, they did make a factual basis, so that what the prosecutor did was a very long set of facts and said, if this were to go to trial, we would be able to prove the following facts. And the facts that she cited was that between November 18th, 2020 and January 6th, 2021, defendant and Trump and Giuliani and Eastman and Ray Stalling and Smith, Chile, Roman, and others entered, they just basically went through the co-conspirators and co-defendants, entered into conspiracy to cause other co-conspirators, including Kathy Latham, to hold themselves out as false electors for Trump. The objective of the conspiracy included to recruit certain individuals to hold themselves out as the duly qualified electors, to create false electoral documents, including vote documents, including to falsely state that Trump won all of the Georgia electoral votes, and deliver the false documents to the National Archives, the Secretary of State of Georgia, federal court, et cetera, all the places you were supposed to deliver them to, and that the purpose was to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress by using the fake electoral documents to cause Mike Pence to violate the Electoral College Act and the United States Constitution. And it was all part of a multi-state conspiracy to unlawfully overturn the results of the 2020 election in favor of Trump, who did not win the state of Georgia. Federal laws require that the documents are maintained in many places, including the federal courts in the Northern District of Georgia's clerk's office, and public records where they can be inspected by members of the public. And overt acts to commit this conspiracy included the defendant created and distributed fake documents and were distributed in coordination with the campaign, provided detailed instructions on how to create and distribute these fake documents, solicited the director of the Republican National Committee to find fake electors along with Trump and Giuliani, who gave specific instructions. And then they talked about co-conspirators, Schaefer, Steele, and Latham met at the Georgia State Capitol and created these fake documents saying Trump received all the fake electoral votes and other governmental entities, and attempted to deliver these fake documents to file in federal court, even though they had materially false statements in them. And defendant was personally present on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. And then they go on to say, these are the facts of the plea. And then the judge asks him, do you agree with the above factual basis for the charges? And he said yes. But that doesn't mean he agrees. All he was agreeing to is that there was a factual basis to charge him. He didn't agree that those are the facts. So he didn't really allocute, which means like confess, right? Which is what you're supposed to do when you plead guilty to these facts. And that just surprised me. Anyway, so the reporting is that he's being flown all over the country and that he is cooperating with people and, he's testifying. And the question is that true? And it's hard to say, are people willing to use him? I don't know. It's just very interesting, because he's a flawed witness, right? He's very flawed. He's smart. He's like one of the masterminds here. And what are they going to do? Use him to flip down, to flip to the fake electors, that he is the one who conspired, or like mastermind to use them. Prosecutors don't typically flip down. They flip up. Like I could see you using him to get Trump or Giuliani or Meadows, but it's just kind of strange. So that's why I'm not 100% sure whether they're going to use him or not, whether they're going to give him a deal, or are they going to immunize him, or are they going to make him plead guilty and give him a deal? Are they going to prosecute him at all? Or is he just flying around getting a queen for a day, which is what we call, it's not immunity. It's basically saying, come in, tell us what you know, and then we will not use those statements against you unless you testify at trial, and then we can cross-examine you with them. So perhaps, they are doing it. I think state prosecutors probably need to go after the fake electors and probably even feel compelled to. So I think that's great that they're doing this. And, maybe they're going to flip down just to get the fake electors, knowing that other people are trying to hold the big guys like Trump, Jack Smith and Fani Willis, hold him and others accountable. He pled guilty in Georgia. We'll see, what's going on and where he's cooperating. And, we think he's helping investigators in several states. He recently testified in a Nevada grand jury against 6 fake electors, and they brought charges. So, we'll see. CNN says that he's also been in contact with Arizona, where he's going to sit for an interview. And he's also an unindicted co-conspirator for Jack Smith, don't forget. And there's no indication that he's cooperating in the federal case yet, or that Smith won't actually ultimately charge him. I think he will ultimately get interviewed by Smith, whether he gets used at trial or not, who knows? That's basically what's going on with him. Michigan, don't forget, but led by the Attorney General Dana Nessel, was the first to announce criminal charges against the fake electors, even before the Ken Chesebro cooperation deal. So she has a case and had a case even before that. And it looks like that she confirmed to CNN that their investigation is still active, and that perhaps she's looking at other figures in the in the case, including this attorney. His name is Ian Northorn, who apparently was in touch with top Trump allies after the 2020 election and accompanied the fake electors when they tried to enter the Michigan State House. Northorn tried to persuade a state trooper to let them into the state capitol, but he thankfully did not let them. And it's a key part of the plan that Chesebro and others cooked up because federal law in Michigan requires the electors to meet in the state house. And Chesebro hoped the pro-Trump slate would hew to the law as closely as possible. And, after the election, Northorn participated in conference calls, apparently, according to this reporting, with the then Trump attorneys Giuliani and Eastman, where they discussed how to contest the results. Northorn also had a call with Sidney Powell, and she asked him to join the lawsuit she was filing in Michigan about nullifying the election, but he declined and filed a separate suit. And Northorn also received the Chesebro memo. So we'll see if he's cooperating in the true sense of the word, meaning will he actually testify in the grand jury and testify at trial? Are prosecutors willing to use him, or is he so flawed as a witness because he, is the mastermind of all of this, that how will a jury actually believe him? Who knows? But he is flying all around, if nothing else, trying to get people not to prosecute him more than he already is. That's what's going on with Ken Chesebro. My name is Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Thanks so much for joining me and my co-hosts every Wednesday and Saturday on Legal AF.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.